Why do people reject certain scientific conclusions? Why do they reject, for example, that climate change is real, something I study? Why do some people reject the idea that COVID-19 is real? I want to offer four ideas for your consideration on thinking this through. The first is motivated reasoning. And what that means is that people readily accept something if it confirms their worldview, and they will reject it or dismiss it if it challenges their worldview on issues that may be totally unrelated to the science. People may say that climate change is not real because they do not want to see constraints on the market, controls on fossil fuel sector. People may have never experienced anyone who had COVID-19 and therefore dismiss it as a liberal plot trying to control their lives. And so motivated reasoning plays a big role in whether people accept or reject the conclusions of the scientific institutions. The second question is, where do those filters come from that guide motivated reasoning? And to a large extent, they are formed by the groups with which we associate. Who is part of our tribe, for example? Maybe a way to think about it. Who do you trust for information? We'd like to fit with the groups of which we are part. It's painful, it's hard to be in dissonance with the values of the people we associate with, whether it's at the university or at your local town hall or in your business or in your local neighborhood. We tend to fit with the groups with which we associate. And a second part of that, or a piece of that, is who do we look at trusted sources of information that represent the values of those groups? There is actually good scientific social science research to show that the more you watch or listen to Fox News, the less you believe in climate change. The more you watch or listen to NPR, the more you believe in climate change. Our social media does it to it as well. We create a filter bubble around ourselves. Many of you may have unfriended someone on Facebook or Twitter because they were posting things that you didn't agree with. We create the filter bubble. We disassociate ourselves with people whose values or views are different than our own. Social media is doing it to us. And so the second piece, what's called cultural cognition, starts to play in. The third, over time, once we connect a particular position on a scientific issue with our social, political, emotional identity, it's very hard to break that. Jonathan Haidt likes to describe that when we're faced with complex scientific information, we approach it more like lawyers than like scientists. We have this emotional, visceral response. The emotions kick in really fast, and our reason is a distant second. And so our emotion creates a conclusion, and our reason comes in and tries to find information to confirm that conclusion made by our emotions. And so we come to these decisions quickly, and we don't work often that hard to find disconfirming information. Psychologists like to describe that we're cognitive misers. We have a certain amount of cognitive ability. We spend it very frugally. The third piece that has to be brought in this conversation is that there are powerful political and economic interests that are trying to confuse the conversation over particular issues, whether it's news media or certain industry sectors that have brought content into the conversation in ways to try and sway the public one way or another. All these things, all four of these items, lead to a conclusion that when you are trying to communicate science to a public that is not ready to hear it, in many ways it's helpful to understand some of the social science behind why they reject it, and then you can start to take an approach to how to overcome it.